YouTube was supposed to be different. There's no networks, no gatekeepers, and no elitists. It was just people making stuff that they actually cared about, and you could feel their obsession through the screen. But somebody noticed, and without asking you, and without telling you, they started buying your favorite channels. These buyers are not other creators, they're private equity firms. It's the same people who gutted Toys R Us, the same people who hollowed out your local newspaper, and the same people who turned your hospital into a local business. Then they found YouTube and they began pumping billions of dollars into your favorite channels while you sat there and watched, completely unaware. Donut Media is the clearest example of what happens when private equity gets their hands on something that people truly love. And what happens is not pretty.
I don't work at Donut Media anymore.
We're leaving Donut.
I wasn't allowed to talk about it, but now I am.
In this video, we're gonna break down exactly what private equity is and how it works, what it did to Donut Media and channels just like it, and what it means for your YouTube experience moving forward. But before we do, this is a brand new channel, and I want to meet as many of you as I possibly can. Please like this video and subscribe, and I'll be reading every single comment. Let's jump right into what private equity is and how it works.
No more fun and games for Toys R Us. The toy retailer has filed for bankruptcy.
31,000 employees are looking for new jobs.
This company was taken private back in 2005, and it went private with borrowed money.
And fight for what's right.
Private equity firms like Blackstone, KKR, Apollo, and Carlyle are the big four that silently control your daily life. They raise money from investors and buy undervalued businesses, extract all the value that they can, and then sell. They don't really care about YouTube videos. They care about the revenue line. But before we get into private equity's chokehold on YouTube, we need to understand how this machine actually works. And once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it. What you see is a healthy business. Creativity, customer satisfaction, flexibility, staff, loyalty, and so many other great qualities. This is what an independent and thriving business looks like. When private equity sees a business like this, they want to buy it. Except when they do buy it, they don't buy it with their own cash. They borrow. This is called LBO, a leveraged buyout. Private equity companies go to Wall Street, borrow cash, and then buy the business. Then they make the business pay back the debt itself and collect fees along the way. The businesses look bigger, they look stronger, and they look more valuable on paper, but they're way heavier than what they should be. In order to pay back the interest, you need to start pulling blocks from the bottom so that the whole business can stay afloat. This isn't just some mafia boss fringe theory. It's real, and you have seen it play out right in front of your eyes. Toys R Us, the company that put a smile on your face as a kid, was saddled with $5 billion worth of debt. They were forced to rip themselves limb from limb in order to pay back that debt and the interest on top of it. Staff cuts, store closures, advertising, and ultimately the budget for innovation. They were no longer able to compete with Amazon or Target, and in 2017, the business ultimately fell. Not only Toys R Us, but hospitals have been gutted of essential services, newsrooms are forced to stick to the same narrative, and mom and pop businesses are ripped from the inside out. So what does this actually have to do with your favorite YouTubers? And what does it really mean for your feed? YouTube is a $500 billion industry. It has predictable ad revenue, super loyal audiences, and brand deals. However, to a private equity company, they don't really care about the creativity. They care about the cash flow. Blackstone manages over $1 trillion in private equity deals. Candle Media, backed by Blackstone, has deployed over $4 billion in YouTube acquisitions alone. That's enough to buy 10,000 American homes. Private equity companies aren't buying channels one by one. They use a roll-up strategy to buy out entire niches. Recurrent Media didn't just buy out Donut, they also bought several other channels like Drive and PopSci. They centralized management, editing, creativity, and run it like a white labeled portfolio. There are billions of dollars being poured into YouTube channels, and you have no idea if Blackstone is a shadow owner to your favorite channel. Worst of all, there's no law saying that channels need to disclose this. So now that we've seen how this machine works and what it did to Toys R Us, it only makes me ask the question, what happens when private equity gets their hands on channels that people actually love? Before we talk about what happened to Donut Media, we need to talk about what it was. Because if you missed it, it was something truly special. Donut was founded in 2015 by a bunch of guys who were just genuinely obsessed with cars. It was just a bunch of car guys making stuff that they thought was cool and posting it on YouTube for everyone to see. James Pumphrey joined in 2016 and almost instantly became the face of the channel. He created a series called Up to Speed. It was a fast, funny, chaotic deep dive into the history of the cars that his fans love the most. He made videos on the Nissan GTR, the Plymouth Barracuda, the Suzuki Samurai, just to name a few.
Working for Donut and on Donut has been the experience of a lifetime, and by far, like not even close, the coolest thing that I've ever done.
He made videos that made your average car guy feel completely seen. And it wasn't just James. Jesse Wood was the chief creative officer. He was the guy behind how Donut looked and felt on screen. Zach Dove hosted Money Pit, documenting car builds that anyone could relate to. Jeremiah Burton hosted Bumper to Bumper, and his passion shone through to all of his fans, and people loved watching him.
Going back to what attracted me to Donut more than anything else, it was a startup. It has this like, we're just gonna do stuff, man. Yeah. We're gonna spend some money on some stuff and figure out if it works out. You have a lot of misses. We had a good amount of misses, but you also find that like magic.
That magic was real, and the people who watched it felt it through the screen. At its peak, Donut was doing tens of millions of views every single month. They had a podcast, a merch line, multiple weekly series, and a fan base that loved them no matter what. They didn't love the brand, they loved them. In November of 2021, Recurrent Ventures acquired Donut Media. There was no big announcement, no fanfare, and the terms were completely undisclosed. Just like with Toys R Us, the debt blocks went on top of Donut Media. So here's the weird thing that happens after a private equity acquisition. The tower doesn't fall the day they sign the papers. It's slow, it's quiet, and for a while you can't even feel the weight of the debt on top of it. But the people who are inside in the day-to-day operations, they really do feel it. The creative environment at Donut slowly began to change. The Donut team had more structure and more metrics that they needed to hit. They also had lots of meetings about growth and something called EBITDA, which is just a fancy word for how much money the business is squeezing out before expenses. The kind of creative swings that made Donut feel special slowly began trickling out. Not because they were bad ideas, but just because they were risky ones. Private equity, they don't like risk. They only liked predictability. The energy in the office changed as well. What used to feel like a startup slowly became a corporate job. And the goofiness, the thing that made Donut Media feel like you're hanging out with a bunch of friends instead of watching a video on YouTube, slowly started dying out as well. And it wasn't because the host stopped caring, but it was because the environment just stopped allowing it. Meanwhile, the content got safer, the sponsorships got weirder, and fans started feeling something even if they couldn't name it. Something was definitely off. But the deepest wound wasn't the creative restrictions. It was the ownership. Or more specifically, the lack of it. When these guys joined Donut and built it into what it is, there was an understanding. It was an unspoken promise that if this thing ever sold, they would all be taken care of. They thought they were building something together, except they weren't, because they never actually even owned it.
And I think that that's the original sin of Donut. We don't own it. And we never own it. None of the guys that make videos got rich when it sold. And more importantly, without owning Donut, we don't get to decide what Donut does.
These were the guys that made Donut Media what it was, and they didn't see a dollar of that deal. And without legal ownership, they had no control, no say, and no ability to protect what they spent years building. In June of 2024, Jeremiah and Zach announced that they were leaving to start their own new channel, Big Time. Two of the most loved people on the channel were gone. A few months later, James Pumphrey announced he was leaving after 9 years of being at Donut. He was the true face of the channel. The towers fell, the private equity firms moved on, and somewhere right now, they are dumping $4 billion into other channels. Any channel that makes above $100,000 a year is on the radar of private equity companies. Donut was simply the one that played out for all of us to see. Most of these acquisitions happen quietly. One day, Blackstone could have complete control of your favorite channel, and they'd have no reason to ever disclose it. Task and Purpose, Simple History, Fern, Fireship, Economics Explained, and Futurism are all channels that you might know if you spend a lot of time on YouTube. They have all been purchased by private equity. For all of you guys who aren't YouTube nerds, here's a few channels that you probably do know. Dude Perfect is one of the most subscribed channels in YouTube history. After they took a private equity deal, the founders began falling out. There's disputes over creative direction, business decisions, and the future of their channel. Veritasium, one of the biggest science channels, took a huge investment as well. They still produce great content, but they've effectively removed Derek as the key man. CoComelon was acquired by Moonbug, which was acquired by Kendall Media, which is backed by Blackstone for $3 billion. That is the highest amount ever paid for a YouTube channel. Their investment wasn't about a children's show, it was about the 200 million subscribers that they have. Again, these are just the channels that we know about and that have been disclosed. There is still $4 billion worth of other deals sitting in the shadows right now that you will probably never hear about. The firms are evolving and learning from their mistakes. They saw what happened to Donut and how the key man walked out the door and how the audience followed them. So now, what are they going to do to protect their investments? Non-compete contracts are becoming the standard in channel acquisitions. Those contracts are there solely to prevent the next Speed or Big Time. These private equity companies want to be able to control what the creator says for years. They want to be able to control what they say, do, and think, all on YouTube. Not only that, but they're getting way better at key man risk mitigation. For example, with Task and Purpose, they introduced a new host from day one. Private equity firms want 100% confidence that even if the key man leaves, they still have total control over the channel and can still make money off of it. So that when the key man gets frustrated and leaves, the asset still survives. If the audience is unaware of what's going on and they stay, the private equity firm keeps on making money. When a creator signs a deal, they realize what they've been building for years is no longer theirs. Their voice, their ambitions, their care for the fans comes second to paying back the debt saddle that the private equity company put on them. The scale of what's coming next cannot be overstated. As more private equity firms begin to view YouTube channels as cash cows, more and more investments are going to be poured in from other companies. The darkest part about all of this is that it doesn't even work that well to begin with. In 2023, Candle Media missed their earnings by over 50%. In order to pay off the billions of dollars that they owe to Wall Street, they began consolidating and selling off everything that they could. The channels that they bought are underperforming, the content is getting blander, and the audiences are shrinking. Private equity is strip mining YouTube, and they're not even gonna pay back the debt while doing it. The channels are collapsing and they're just collecting fees on the way down, just like what happened with Toys R Us. So what can you do as a fan with all this information? The truth is that it's an uphill battle. These firms have more money than some countries. They have lawyers, they have contracts, they have lobbyists. They can burn $1 billion and crush so many creators before they learn a new system that extracts even more money from those same creators. You, the fan, you only have a subscription button in a comment section. Here's what these firms haven't been able to figure out, and what Donut proved more than anyone else. You guys follow the creator and not just the channel. When James left and started Speed, his channel got millions of views in the first week. The same thing happened with Big Time. In order to win against private equity's billions of dollars, you have to go where the creator goes. The alternative is that we get another version of cable television that's controlled by billionaires.
This is 100% our doing, our creative, our decisions, good, bad, and different.
Our money.
Yeah, this is us.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. This is a brand new channel and I want to meet as many of you as I possibly can. So please leave the video a like and comment. I'll be sure to read absolutely all of them. If you feel up for it, please subscribe. It only helps me out so much and I can't wait to keep on bringing you guys more financial content to YouTube.